Hello, everyone, and welcome to Whale FM Addicted to Art, featuring NVLLSEKT, the experimental crypto artist leveraging tech and ingenuity to create, corrupt, destroy, and rebuild, leaving their unmistakable mark on the metaverse and beyond. NVLLSEKT, hyped to have you with us here to learn more about you and your work today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
First of all, just to level set everybody, it was kind of a rabbit hole I fell down when I discovered you. I saw that you had popped in the Whale Discord, and I checked your history. You've been here for a couple years, and you had left a piece in the digital art kind of work in progress that showed one of your pieces, and I was like, that's super cool. I love the glitch aesthetic, first of all. So of course I was going to follow down, but before I knew it, I was in your parcel and crypto Voxels, or Voxels as it's now called, which was an incredible experience. So much going on there. I ended up going over and learning more about what you've been doing for soundscaping for them as well, and just the various things that you've been doing for quite a long time. And I just found you to be such an incredible creative that I was looking so forward to being able to talk to you about what you do, share it with the greater community, and learn more about you as an artist. So thank you so much for joining us.
Again, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I guess to level set everyone a little bit, how did the name NVLLSEKT come about? What does it mean?
So NVLLSEKT actually, there's a cyberpunk tabletop game called Shadowrun, and in the book Kill Code, there was a faction called NVLLSEKT, and they were a group of xenosapient AI born from null data in the Matrix. And at the time when I was trying to build NVLLSEKT, it was originally for like music dabblings and some glitch art I was dropping on the Glitch Artist Collective, like before NFTs and all that. So from dabbling with AI and NVLLSEKT being like an AI group, and also I was consolidating multiple aliases because I was like making a random alias, dropping some audio or art, and then dropping the project and moving on. I was combining them to one alias for management, and that was NVLLSEKT. So it's a group of null aliases,
right,
coming together, mixing all the things I'm interested in, because I would make separate projects for separate styles for music and art, and try not to connect them or leave traces between them.
Right. You know, I was doing a little bit of research before our discussion, and I was kind of following down the timeline and the rabbit holes, and I saw different times where even the spelling of NVLLSEKT changed, the moniker changed. There were some different projects that were for different things under different aliases. So makes total sense, but also makes me wonder how many things you've actually touched and put out there into the world in this time, because you certainly were early and working on it. But before we get into the crypto art space and NFTs, tell me a little bit about yourself. Walk us through your background in the arts. Did you have any traditional training? Was it something you've always been interested in? Give us a little flavor of how you came up in art.
Well, I've always been around creative friends. I'm in like a college town, so growing up, there was a lot of establishments that were available to me to go check out for music and art shows and all that. And then, of course, my brother was always into cool stuff, so I would always dig into his books and discover like the demo scene and all that cool stuff early on. So that pretty much inspired me to tinker on things myself and try to learn like AV art and sketching and all that. No traditional background or anything. I didn't go to school for it. It's always just been like a creative drive or an interest to attempt thing or challenge myself.
Very cool. And What drew you to this specific style that's kind of evolved? I see you use a lot of glitch. Reading about some of your processes, a lot of AV stuff is involved as well. Processing, reprocessing, sampling, downsampling. Um, and likewise, you mentioned your music stuff, right? So, was there something that drew you to all of this? Was this just your curiosity to experiment and try different things?
Pretty much, I just get a drive to do something and I just hop on it. I usually don't have a plan or like there usually is no plan. I just start doing. That's pretty best way to describe it. But as for the style, there is no set style either. I made a piece on Super Rare called I believe it's consistently inconsistent, because I know a lot of artists build portfolios that are all clean and stuff like that, and it's consistent. But when you look at mine, it's not. I don't have a specific style. Sorry, I'm rambling on, but the
No,
style
it makes
originates
sense.
from pretty much the demo scene, the ANSI art scene. A lot of the glitch discovered pretty much through the Glitch Artist Collective. They just scrolling through all the artwork early on. It was just a Facebook group in the beginning, I believe, and just being inspired by everybody to wanting to go out and do it myself.
Now, when you say the Glitch Art Collective on Facebook, what time period are you talking about there?
I think I was 2014, 15, maybe around there.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit later, 16. They were around for quite a while, and it wasn't like a membership thing. You just hop in and drop your art.
Right.
And
Yeah, so I'm looking at this piece right now, and it's first of all, it's an incredible piece. I love it. I like all the detail that you put into the metadata and then the description. Like, you had just talked about the prior piece, consistently inconsistent, which has some messaging in there. I'd love to talk to in a little bit, but I'm looking at this. It's obviously taken a lot of skill to do. I would say that as I've become more familiar with your art, I know you're not trying to pin yourself into any box or whatever, but you certainly have an artistic signature. I definitely look at this now, knowing more about you, and may be able to see a piece and say, "Hey, that might be from NVLLSEKT." But I wanted to show everybody this. This is something that you had dropped on the Discord server, I think, prior to minting this. The concept sketch. So how it went from that to your artistic vision and with your experimentation, how it ended up, I think is just incredible.
so that piece actually, my best friend, his name's Nate Kaschek. I'm trying to get him into the space because his art is amazing and some of his digital stuff is very inspiring to me. And but he would just draw random stuff and leave random messages when he was my roommate in random places, and they're just hilarious. And he would draw stuff like these type of skeletons on like whiteboards, and pretty much that inspired me to make this piece, as you can see in the description.
Right. Yeah, I'll definitely have to follow that up and check if that's a Twitter or other profiles that I could see. But to see that from concept to execution, I think people sometimes look at the end product of digital art, and it's very interesting from someone that doesn't do it to see it from conception to execution. I know you say you don't really have a style that you would say, but if someone asked you, how would you characterize your aesthetic or what you do? You cover a lot of different grounds with a lot of different experimentation. What do you think are some binding principles to what you try to do with your art? I've seen you talk about finding beauty within chaos and error, and maybe that's it, but what would you say to someone that had that question?
For the beauty within chaos, so I put out a series recently for the visual similarities between physical corrosion and digital corruption. I'd take copper plates and force oxidize them and pit them and create patinas with chemicals added to the plates and scratch them up and all that. So I'd been in the plumbing trade for quite a number of years, and being exposed to like decaying pipes, rust, and all that stuff. Some of it is like an abstract drawing. If you were to capture a picture in some dark, dank basement of a really patinaed, corroded copper pipe, the blues and blue greens are just so vibrant and capturing. And it's decay, and it's just the chaos of nature that is creating that beauty. And same thing with glitch art. When you're destroying it, you get the unexpected. I think good example, Coldy just had an interview where he's talking about like a gel transfer onto one of his photographs, and it didn't come out right because some of it peeled away, but he ended up liking it better because of that imperfection and a little bit of like decay on it, better than the original. So beauty within chaos, yes.
Right. I spoke to Cody about that. He messed something up and he had to take it out of the trash and take a blowtorch to it to get it to work. And then having used the blowtorch, it ended up being one of the favorites and the one that actually sold in that exhibition for him. So I love that. And this process, when I read this, because I had seen what you have done with Glitch, I'd seen what you were doing in Voxels, and then I read this, that you were literally oxidizing plates, right? And then taking the result and feeding it through different processes to crop, glitch, upscale. You're feeding it back and forth through these different things to corrupt it and get, an end result that's truly unique.
So a lot of the early stuff, like on, say, my super rare profile, or like the early known origin, a lot of that was taking sketches, photographs, or pretty much anything, and then bring it into Krita, which is an open source, kind of like a Photoshop, editing it a little bit, and then corrupting it, and then feeding it into like a style transfer AI to rebuild it, and then I'd corrupt it again, and then repeat the process a dozen times over until I get pleasing results. Yeah, like that one.
Right. I mean, just I'm a fan of glitch art myself, and recently had gone down the rabbit hole and learned that it's as much about the process that you use to create the aesthetic and the effect as it is, the end visual. So, learning about that detail and that intricacy that you would go through, I described it in one of the things we put out about our interview as running your creative vision through a gauntlet, right? Like you're going to put it back and forth through different processes, and it's an experimentation, it sounds like, on your end. Would you characterize it as that way, always experimenting?
It is experimentation. It's like a journey. It's like I usually don't have a plan when I jump into it. I just mess around. There is no set path, and hopefully something beautiful comes from it.
Right. And the unexpected sometimes are the things that have the flaws. The flaws are the beautiful attributes when approaching it this way sometimes. So I really personally, it definitely resonates with me as a, creative vision. I typically would ask someone, what is your process from a technical perspective? And you do so much, man. You are all over the place. So, could you just give us an example? Because I've read it, but I think, the people tuning in, to have an idea of the intricacy of the process for you. Say you were going to create, one of the different types of works you've been working on recently. Talk about the various processes that you would run it through from a technical perspective.
Well, use a lot of processing. I mean, like there is no set path.
Right.
I just start creating and think, I wonder if I glitch it this way, and then do this, and then do that. That's the best way to describe it. It just comes to mind at the time.
Right. So like when I was reading a lot of the description of these, and they're all very different, right? It'll say like here it says created and Krita, glitched, upscaled, rebuilt in mid-journey, downscaled, glitch, pushed through multiple CRT emulations, and layered. Like that's a ton of processing to get this incredible output here that would be very difficult for someone to duplicate, especially through that methodology. So I guess it's more of a comment for me that I find that to know that it gives me that much more appreciation for what you do and what you're able to achieve.
It's just chaos, man. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely I dig the chaos. So, how did you find you're on this Facebook group, you're doing different things. Maybe you're tech inclined. How do you find your way into crypto and the NFT art space?
As for crypto, I was part of a small like mod team for GTA San Andreas multiplayer. It was called SAMP, and it was a role play server. So people would be the police chief or the mayor and all that. And there was this guy called Greg, and he was the banker, and it was all about finance. And through his role play, he discovered actually Bitcoin, and this was back in like 2015, around there, same time. And he told all us about it. Now we didn't think nothing about it, of course. Like I didn't really invest or like hop on it, but I do remember tinkering around with like Bitcoin faucet websites and all that. As for NFTs, I didn't hop straight into NFTs. At first, I was experimenting with the Web3 social networks. I believe the earliest were like Peepeth, for me anyway, Peepeth and Steemit. And the idea with those was you post your artwork and people can come in and tip on it. As far as Steemit, I believe that was mostly like a Asian speaking or Eastern community, so I didn't get much traction on there. And I also don't really like promote myself that much. So I moved to Cent, and it's in Cent that literally some guy named Just Some Guy said, hey, you should mint these as NFTs. Connie Digital has tutorials. And big ups to Connie Digital. Like he's really the person who taught me how to mint, and that was on Codex. And then from there, other people on Cent were like Coldy and Xcopy and Sparrow and Mighty Moose and Drew, like all the older names. And after minting for the first time, I got sucked into crypto voxels. And it was actually Xcopy with his Zero Gallery. I had a piece called Shadow that I donated to his water project event. And from experiencing that virtual gallery event where they were actually raising money for charity, it was pretty much Xcopy who opened my eyes to the real power of the space to empower artists and make changes for the better. And it works, So from there, I just went all in, tried to experiment and dabble with every community, be part, and pretty much that up until today.
That's super dope. I'd seen one of your early mints that I could find, and I'm sure that there's stuff possibly on defunct platforms, but spring or first quarter 2019. So definitely an early adopter and here experimenting. And I always find it really interesting to see that evolution of people that started then and then continued with it throughout. I did have a question that someone DM'd me. They said that they were searching for you and they saw what they thought were a lot of gaming related gamer tag forums and things of that nature where your name may have popped up. Would you say that gaming's been a consistent influence in your artwork or your approach to what you do?
Yeah. I draw inspiration from pretty much anything, really. Ever since I first got my hands on a computer, I've been, I guess I could say, addicted to gaming.
Yeah, and this person in particular wanted to give you props for playing Diablo 2 recently. So just sharing that with you.
Diablo 2 was my first taste of like an online community MMO.
Right.
And that was it really shows you that, digital friends and digital communities can be just as powerful and engaging as a real life club.
I can definitely relate. Many, many moons ago, I had something called X Band, which was like a modem that went into the Super Nintendo, but I had to like plug it into the wall and beg my mom not to pick up the phone. But eventually, I got D1 and then Ultima Online, and then I fell down a rabbit hole I've never recovered from since. So,
Yep.
can definitely relate to what you were saying. That being said, you create in so many different ways. You're talking about literally working with the plates and oxidizing them. I was able to find some of your experimental music work as well. What other mediums do you create in?
I really want to dabble and experiment with anything I possibly can, but I still try to stick to that uh, destruction and beauty and chaos theme if I could,
Right. I'm gonna
with no matter what I'm doing.
drop this into the stream text, so if people want to take a listen later, they can. Definitely cool experimental stuff, and that led to you doing some other things for some of your other projects that you are involved with. I wanted to talk a little bit about, you said inspiration. There's so much stuff that's inspiration for you. One thing that I really appreciated in looking at your work was thematically, a lot of it talks to things that were ongoing throughout, you know, history of crypto art and what was going in general in the Web3 space, right? You talk about gatekeepers in some, you talk about a time when you were hacked and actually your parcel was
Oh yeah,
lost and how it made you feel, right? You talk about the cost of gas, etc. So it's almost like, for me, it's encapsulating moments in time, and the aesthetic is so, for me personally, is so indicative of what the original crypto art space was, that I feel like holistically it's super cool. But in other ones you touch on, ADHD and some other different things.
oh yeah.
So I don't know if you want to touch on that, your inspiration. I know it covers a lot of ground, but I did find it cool how you can put so much into it, because not a lot. Some artists are just like, here's my art, interpret what you will, but you definitely give it some meaning and flavor.
Yeah, definitely ADHD is a great hindrance, but the hyper focus that comes from it can be awesome. But I'll sit till like 4 o'clock in the morning grinding away trying to finish something. But then the next day I'll wake up and just start doing something else. So that's where the hindrance comes in, and also the consistency with style. It's always changing. My mind's always changing. Trying to, I really just want to do fun stuff.
Well, I find it super dope, and it looks like a lot of people in the community do as well. So, thank you for sharing as you're experimenting with that. I wanted to get into the metaverse because I know you'll have lots of opinions and lots of thoughts on that. To give this a little bit of pretext, when I was checking out your work the first time, I ended up going into your parcel, and I'll let you describe kind of what your vision for it was and when you built it. But when I was in there, I was able to walk around. I was able to learn a bit about you historically, what you've done, the different stuff that you do. And next thing you know, I was checking out what you've done with Voxels for some ambient sounds on one of the new islands, etc. And then you actually popped in and we were having a conversation briefly. And I was like, this is so wild. Like I thought an artist was super cool. I'm here to check them out, and I'm literally having a conversation in what to me seemed like a living, evolving manifestation of their work.
Yeah, I thought that was cool when you popped in as well. I was not expecting to get pulled into an interview. To be honest, this is actually I've denied quite a few in the past because I didn't really come into the space to become a brand or create a community behind me. I just was really always about utilization, and kind of goes back to like that gaming community thing. That's the kind of environment I felt with the early Cent community and the crypto scene in general. It was just everybody was a creative, doing music, doing their own thing, and it was exciting and energizing. And that's pretty much why I stick around. Really, I could have pumped out like 10K projects and all that, made a bunch of money, but that's a lot of work and a lot of effort into something I'm not really chasing.
Yeah, so I'm in your parcel right now, giving people a little bit of a tour, but I'm going to give you my impressions of it, which is only at a glance. You've been building this out for years. And it looks like you may have rebuilt, unless the hacker kept everything as it
This
was
is
originally.
it's the third rebuild, and it's never finished.
And you know what's cool? I do like, if you go to your Scent profile, you can see kind of the first iteration of it. You kind of talk through, hey, I got a gallery on crypto voxels, and people can take a peek on where it was at versus where it's at now. But this thing's incredible. From the exterior, definitely has a vibe. Inside, to me, is it just comes across as a labor of love, man. Like, you're a person doing this because it's cathartic for you. It's part of who you are to express and experiment. And I love that about it. But there's so much integrated here. Like, there's homage to people. There's stuff to the crypto art and glitch movement. You have like wearables that I can try on, right? Which I spent way more time than I should have probably when I first had stopped in here. You have, some of your mask projects, which I'd like to see. You have your corrosive stuff in here, streams. Next thing you know, I'm in an elevator and I'm in like a sensory deprivation room where I could, watch some of your Twitch streams. Like, talk to me about your parcel.
Well, so if you search me up, you notice I don't have a website. And a lot of the music I posted and the older art, I pulled down all those Web 2 profiles to bring them to Web 3. And I believe having a virtual space like that is more powerful than a website. People can interact with you and your work and your interests a lot more than they could with a simple website. So that's what I tried to build the shop out as. It is my website, and it's also my home, pretty much. So that personal detail is there, and a lot about me. A lot of stuff is hidden. Little clues about other projects I work on and other things, and of course, a lot of people who inspire me and artists, as you can see, like by the doorway and all that. Downstairs, my best friend's down there, Nate, with his work. I have 5 times No, X copies up there, John's up there. I wanted to keep my own artwork out of the bottom floor so people can hopefully be exposed to other people, and then move on to the other floors when I finish them to just look at my work, etc.
I'll tell you, I don't know if I was doing something wrong, but when I first came to your parcel, I couldn't get the elevator to work correctly. And so I'm like, I'm going around and I'm like, okay, is this intentional? Is there some mystery here? It's like the locked room that no one can get in, NVLLSEKT stuff. And when I got on the roof and found this, this water here, and I could go through it and get to the 3rd floor and then find my way down, I felt like I was Indiana Jones discovering something incredible. But that type of interactive experience is unique versus a website. Like, I came here like I would to a website to learn about you and had a conversation with you. I'm still wrapping my head around it, but it really talks to what Web3 allows that's so different than the pre-existing models.
I wanted NVLLSEKT to be an experiment as a Web3 only entity. So I did wipe, like I said, a lot of Web 2 stuff, pull a lot of my music down, because I wanted to re-upload them to like Audius or Emanate and then establish the presence there. Of course, I have to balance life and all that, so time is limited in between. So I move very slow, but eventually I'll get there.
Yeah, and people are loving it that are checking it out in the community as well. So this is an OC, so a legacy parcel here, right? And Punk neighborhood, an appropriate street name.
Yep.
What happened with the hack? So someone took the property and you were able to get it back?
So I took like a month or 2 break from the space, because this is like during the ultra hype when it was at the top. It was draining. I felt myself getting caught up into the grind of like, I got to put out a project, got to all this hype. And I was like, screw this. So I just took a breather and kind of stepped back. And when I came back, I just discovered that, damn, these scammers were getting crafty. And I actually was hit by a Moonbirds scam where the entire site was a complete copy down to the T except for one single character.
Wow.
And I did not use my probe wallet. I was an idiot, and I used my primary wallet. And it actually, I don't know how the contract worked, but it specifically targeted my crypto Voxels parcel. Nothing else was taken. Or maybe I just disconnected from the site before anything else could be push any more transactions through. And it was a local community member that his name is God Juicer. He came out of nowhere and spent $3,000 of his own money to buy the parcel back and give it back to me.
Wow.
And that shit blew me away. Big ups to all the collectors in the space over the years, because you don't realize how these collectors and other people in the communities help other people. I can definitely say that people like DeFi, the Druid, all the early collectors, everybody on my super rare and known origin list who collected me over the years, definitely pulled me out of poverty, to be honest. Lifted me and carried me and supported me when I didn't really ask for it. And that shit changed my life. For real. And
Yeah.
I know that's possible for anybody else who really is passionate about the space and believes in it. And other people can see that. And that's where they really excel, I guess.
Yeah, the community is an invaluable thing. And I think that for all the frustration about PFPs and about some of the parts of the past year that were just exuberance, the power of community is something that can be learned from some of them. But certainly, in the metaverse and Voxels, it's a unique group and unique community that's very supportive. Shout out to Connie, who showed you how to mint, but we have Connie on, an OG in the space, and social tokens, as well as audio NFTs. But that's an amazing story. And then, I did want to say that, part of your participation in it is not just having this gallery. Like, I see you advocating for other projects that people are doing. You're also part of
support others as they support you.
Right. And you're also part of the what is it, the sound design for Kronos, is that correct?
So actually I was trying to push Crypto Voxels to have a monthly event where there's so many creatives in Crypto Voxels. I mean, I guess you could say I'm a maxi for Crypto Voxels. I do travel other metaverses, but although the community is small in Voxels, it's really tight, and I can't find that type of community anywhere else. And that's what really makes me call it home. Every metaverse has its problems, whether it's the team, leads or whatever. But I don't know, man. The community is what keeps me here.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely unique. I know I've dabbled in some others as well, but for me, a grail is getting something at OC, I think, from a historical perspective, from the community perspective. And, I think it's clear I have an affinity for the aesthetic of what you can do with pixels and voxels as well. So I'm with you 100%. But you also, you do a lot with wearables. You do a lot of stuff to really enhance the experience. I thought it was super cool, the drop that you had just done, 4 layers, where you have this glitch work of masks that tie in with the wearable that would be unique in crypto voxels as well.
Yeah, so I originally just wanted to make some cool mask for crypto voxels, but then it turned into an SR project as well, to have digital pieces, digital representations of those masks, and whoever bought the mask would whoever bought the NFT would get a mask dropped to them as well. So just something I wanted to try out.
Yeah, and I saw, you were experimenting with the pricing for the drop mechanics and things like that. So always experimenting, always trying new stuff, and that was one consistency that I could find in a lot of your stuff is that you're always trying something new, which is super dope. This is the space where that should be, the foundation of what we're trying to do based on what the technology can do and what we have the capability to do with some of these different tools. What are your thoughts on the ability to incorporate interactive elements into art via smart contracts and AR and VR and some of those other things that are progressing right now in the space?
Interactive, all for it, love it. I mean, I'll try to hop on any of that. Really, I think it's an amazing thing. So I don't know what else to really say about it. I wish I had more time uh, to dabble, but I have
Right.
to, balance life and the grind in the space.
Right. You're doing a ton already, so I can only imagine. Um, are there any cool upcoming projects you're currently working on that you could give us a little preview on or let us know is in the pipeline?
A lot of it is kind of voxels based right now. Um, Hoping I can get into a voxels project where we are going to utilize burned parcels and turn them into like a dystopian setting. I got a couple collabs I'm working on with Five Times No. Uh, I had this project I'm working with the pattern base, and I'm trying to bring Sergeant Slaughtermill into it when we all have time. There's like a no time limit thing. Um, and Dead Cell, I'm trying to work on a project with to do video glitches based off metaverses. So we'll go into like metaverses, push it through CRT emulation of glitches in world and errors, and then try to turn it into like a art project.
Very cool.
That's really all I really have going on right now.
Yeah, no, that's a lot already, and that's thank you for sharing. I know that some stuff might be tight to the vest. Of the stuff that you have out that you've already done, do you have any particular favorites that you look back on and say, you know what, that was something that's one of my favorite pieces. I really love it for what it represented or the process or whatever rationale.
In terms of my work,
Yes.
uh, I guess it would have to be one of my first super rare pieces called Notice. And that's when I felt like I really got the AI glitch, multi-process thing down. And I remember I printed that out on vinyl, and it's actually hanging on my wall. And that's one of the pieces I would stare at and be like, "Oh man, I could really do something with this art, and maybe something cool will come from it." You know?
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful piece. Thank you for sharing that. So that's on your work. What are some Who are some artists that you're fans of in the NFT space that people might be surprised? You mentioned X, and I think people might make that connection. Is there anything that's something that you dig that people might not be expecting from you?
I mean, there's so much. I can't say if I have favorites because I like so many things.
Right.
But yeah, definitely X copy. It's just from the inspiration of interacting with him and Coldy and all that. I mean, if you go on the Zero Gallery face or Twitter page, sorry, you scroll down, you'll see that you'll have like posts of like all the old heads gathering up and tinkering around.
Right.
Big fan of line art, dark art, obviously, any type of experimental glitch art. Sergeant Slaughtermill, he's awesome. Max capacity, obviously. And not just specific styles, but people as well. I like what people are doing, not just with their art, but who they are and how they're carrying themselves in space. I mean,
Yeah, it definitely as someone that came from the early group that was really formative for the space, I appreciate you kind of being a torchbearer and holding that ethos as something that's important as we move forward. I was looking at your mints, and it looks to me like, and I could be wrong, like, you definitely have been either inspired or you were sitting on a bunch of stuff, but a lot of stuff recently. Was that inspiration? Was there a certain impetus for you to be have so much that you were putting out right now, or is it just when it was creatively flowing you had to harness it?
It's really the creative flow, and it's in the moment. I have a bad habit of procrastinating and then pushing things off to the last minute, just like the POAP token. Uh, I had all week to do that, but I waited till last minute to push that out. Hopefully, it works for you.
The POAP is absolutely fire. So thank you. You did not have to do that, but I appreciate that you were like, no, if we're gonna do a POAP, I'm gonna do something custom, super cool, and it's gonna be dope. Um, with that being said, we're doing something here at Whale where we lean in pretty heavy on Web3. So we're going to actually leverage the POAP accumulation to open some access for various things within our community and within the Web3 space for resources, etc. So, yeah, excited to have you as part of it. And with that, before I forget, because I'm loving this conversation, I'm going to share the POAP secret phrase with everyone so that they can go and scoop this. This is a very limited custom POAP. There's only 30 max available. Once the window closes, the mint's going to be done and you won't be able to max it out. So get it now if you're interested. But a super, super dope POAP, custom from NVLLSEKT. If you want to get it, grab the POAP app on your mobile device. On the bottom right-hand corner, there is a button that says Mint Plus, and then it allows you to enter a secret word. And the secret word for this POAP is Crypto Art Lives. Crypto Art Lives. All one word, no space. Crypto Art, that's A-R-T, lives, and you'll be able to scoop an incredible custom. Thank you so much for making that, by the way.
Oh, no problem.
I did want to ask you a couple of things that you touched on as well. You talked about the past year with everything that went on being a grind. Um, was there a certain point where you felt like, okay, like I've had enough of a break, I can kind of put more focus on it? Was it, the money and the WAGMI and the people that were kind of co-opting the narrative? What were your feelings? How did you give yourself the mental space to feel better about it and kind of be re-energized?
Hiking with my dog. I just need to disconnect from technology and social media completely. I think that's what maybe it so much wasn't the space, but it was the social networks, constant things happening, wanting to be part of everything, and all the energy and excitement going on. It was overwhelming. But yeah, definitely just disconnecting and going on hikes with my doggo and enjoying nature and clearing the mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are realizing that this could be a grind, so you need to touch grass, as they say. You talked about X. You talked about sharing early in those Facebook groups. X recently went Creative Commons license for all of his pre-existing stuff except collabs.
That's
Any
awesome.
any thoughts on that? How do you feel about that for the space?
I think it's awesome. The CCO, like Stella Bell, Robness, now X, like I just think it's awesome. I think it's good for the space, good for the movement. Um, this allows people to, take that work and create something cool out of it. Derivative works. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we were talking about this, earlier, and a peer of mine, Zero X West, we have a show, Natively Digital, where we talk about kind of the NFT and Web3 space through the lens of like culture and art. And, in the real life collectible or art scene or whatever it is, scarcity really drives value, but online, that's kind of a different paradigm. you kind of accomplish two things by going CCO. In my opinion, you become more ubiquitous, more people get exposure, more people can use it, and it's kind of a symbiotic effect, right? The more it's seen, the more people, whether it becomes a meme or attention grabbing or whatever, it's great for the artists and the artwork, but
It
also
becomes bigger than themselves.
it enables a lot of other people to be able to participate and encourages them to hop in and do art. And so there's a lot of positives all the way around it from my
Absolutely.
perspective. So with that, there's a lot of conversation that happens, about people that came in last year that didn't really have the foundation that say you did and the way that you came up, or people that were collecting early in the space. How do you feel that we can best preserve the legacy and the ethos of the crypto art movement without alienating newcomers? Some people may come in and their first exposure is, I don't know, insert PFP here and WAGMI conversation. How do we bridge those people over to understand what this came from and what it enables and what it represents?
I believe that depends on the community members already in the space to drop that education and knowledge on newcomers to the space. Uh, and of course, metaverses too, like Voxels, for example. There's a lot of history there that goes over the beginnings of the NFT space and all that. I'm sure there's more in other metaverses as well. But yeah, to preserve it, I believe that anybody in the space would have to kind of do their part to bring that understanding and knowledge to others.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I would agree that Voxels is an incredible resource. You can just take a stroll and explore and learn so much. Even seeing early works that some artists had done and then abandoned and gone on to do other things, or just understand how experimentation was doing early on. Some people made some incredible monuments to their work early and kind of have left them there even though they've evolved. So I'd encourage people to hop into Origin City, go to the different neighborhoods and understand kind of the context and do some exploring. You can learn a lot there.
I would
Go ahead.
I would recommend just hopping in and exploring. You never know what you might find. It's a big place, and there's just so much history, and discover something awesome or discover a new artist that maybe you wouldn't have found.
Right. Case in point, we're having this conversation after I wandered down the rabbit hole a little bit after seeing your work. So it's to me is always going to be an incredible metaverse that has staying power, no matter what other ones come to fruition. So hopefully that continues to be the case. But I don't see, based on what Ben says his objectives are, I don't see it going anywhere.
No, like I said, every metaverse would have its problems, but I have faith, and I do believe in the project. And I think it's not going anywhere either.
So, that's for, people coming in and trying to learn about, the origins of the movement. What would you say to new artists trying to get involved? Any advice that you would say to them trying to become part of this movement, part of this, art space? How can they best engage in a way that's productive?
Just be yourself. Be real. Don't get greedy. Don't let ego go to your head, and just follow passions and drives rather than chasing the dollar. It's not what it's about. Really try to be part of communities, interact, and I mean, I can say I've made. If you want to talk about financial gain, I can say I've made more being part of communities and utilizing the technologies than I have making sales, hands down.
Right. Yeah. And not talking sales, but thank you for sharing that. I think, also just being able to engage in a meaningful way, and you've dropped some absolute gems on that. So appreciate you giving some context. What would be some advice you would tell people not to do if they were artists trying to get involved? Like, this is something don't fall into this pitfall.
to not notice on all the scammery and the malicious actions in the space, because the fact that we're aware of it and we have proof of it, it's on the blockchain. It means blockchain's transparency is working. To not be discouraged by it, to be part of it, because that's what makes it grow. It's be part of the ecosystem, support others. It all comes back to you.
Right. Yeah, I love that context, to not be discouraged by it, understand that it's part of us understanding the tech and our environment. I did want to ask you about this NVLLSEKT version 2 with some recent mints. Is there a new project in the works or another persona? What exactly is going on here?
Well, the version 2, I think I just took that version 2 idea from was either max capacity or Robness. It's just the manifold contract. It was my first personal contract. I know people have mixed opinions about the manifold or whatever, but yeah, that's just pretty much what it is. It's nothing significant. I'm trying to still experiment.
Yeah, I definitely. It took me a while to understand when I was looking for Max's work on Tez that he had different iterations, right, to hold everything. I'm a proud DOS punk holder, so fan of Max definitely, and what he represents and what he does with his work. Anything else that you'd like to share with the community that we maybe didn't cover here that you'd like to, just state about your work, the scene, or anything at all?
Not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah, no
I think
problem.
I pretty much covered everything I've been working on and what I'm doing, to be honest.
Well, listen, you came in, you popped in, you engaged on our Discord, and with that, we fell down the rabbit hole. Different people fell in love with your work, and I'm kind of heated that I missed the drop for the masks that happened recently. So we will keep an eye out. I definitely need some better attire for the metaverse, and getting one of those would be super dope. So I will keep an eye out for your upcoming stuff, as well as some of the different projects that you mentioned to everyone. Thank you so much for being a steward of this movement, always from the beginning and until now, continuing to keep it alive and represent the ethos of the space and what it really means for arts and technology and for culture.
I don't see myself as a pioneer, or I never used OG in my titles or anything like that. I'm just a utilizer.
Yeah, I'm not bestowing it on you, but you were there then. You continue to be here now, and it seems for the right reasons. At least for me talking to you, I feel like I'm blessed to have had the opportunity to learn more about you, your work, and your process. So thank you for doing what you do. We'll continue to watch for it, and thank you so much for spending time with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, my man.
Likewise. Thank you for having me on.
Have a good one.
You as well.